Welcome to the Real Estate Real Success podcast, where we talk about key business successes and lessons learned along the way in the hopes of inspiring brokerage owners and managers to find new ways to grow their business. I'm your host, Chiyoko Kakino, and in this episode, we're going to talk about the importance of culture in building a successful brokerage. So I'm super lucky to be joined by Geneva Tetreault. She is the associate broker, owner, partner of Century 21 Masters in Edmonton, Alberta. Geneva, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here.
Well, and you know what? I just recently saw you down in Palm Springs for our Chairman's Circle event. So it's nice to see you online. I prefer in person, but it's still good to see you.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you give us some background on yourself and your journey into real estate? So let's start there.
Oh, yeah. So actually, I was just looking, I licensed myself in May of 2002. So I am actually about 2 weeks away from being 20 years in this business, which is kind of crazy. But my history sort of started out by chance as I was working as an assistant to a realtor back in my early 20s, and kind of like the idea of what I saw. There's the business side and the people side and systems and processes, and I loved all of that. So it just sort of led me into that path. I got licensed when I was 23 and worked for 2 years as an agent. What I quickly discovered was I felt like there was a significant gap in, the training and sort of a brokerage model that I was looking for. And so a couple of years after I was licensed, I decided it would be a great idea to open my own brokerage and tackle that myself. So we opened up our Century 21 office in 2004, brand new startup, just a couple of realtors and me, and figured things out from there.
Wow, you started your career in real estate young, and you're an entrepreneur young, like 25, yeah. 26, you're an entrepreneur running your own brokerage. So you had mentioned, you wanted to start your own brokerage. You chose Century 21. Why did you choose Century 21?
When I was looking around at the different options, I knew that I wanted a recognizable brand, and I loved that Century 21 had that brand recognition actually internationally. I loved that I saw it when I was in Ireland and France and in the United States. So I knew that it had some strength there, but I also wanted a brand that that wasn't in the forefront of the realtors. So something that kind of sits quietly on your shoulder, people recognize it right away, but they can get on and learn more about the agent and what that service piece looks like. And Century 21, really, really provided that, I thought. And I also loved the executive team and, really the way that the National Century 21 Canada organization came out and approached their business model. So it was a really good fit all around.
Great. And so 20 years, almost 20 years in the business, you must have seen so many changes, not only in the industry, but also in the company since you joined in 2004. So what are some of the biggest changes that you've seen?
I technology has to be the biggest thing. We go from when I first started, we were downloading listings once a day into our database so that we could see what new inventory was there. We had pagers. Obviously, it doesn't seem like that long ago, but it sure is. All the way into, the way we generate leads, social media, even how we interact with our clients. So technology for sure is the biggest thing that I see. Obviously in Century 21, I think the biggest change in the 20 years is the rebrand that happened a few years ago. And that just was a massive facelift, catapulted us into a really modern dynamic, which has been a lot of fun to be a part of these last 3 years.
Well, and you've done such a great job leveraging that new brand. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in this podcast. But, for those people that are watching, because everybody's watching from across Canada and also internationally, tell us a little bit about the Edmonton market. So Edmonton, Alberta, tell us a little bit about, the competitive market there and what you're seeing.
Yeah, Edmonton, is an interesting market, Alberta as well, but Edmonton itself, our board has about just over 4,000 agents. And I think we're pretty near to 300 brokerages. And we have, lots of big brands. We also have a lot of small independents. Our average single family house price just finally creeped over the 500,000 mark in March. So that's kind of a nice thing that we've seen. And we've really struggled up until COVID, the 5 years prior to COVID, since 2015, as oil prices dropped. Alberta's economy very much was in a recession. We struggled to help our sellers get, value out of their properties. The prices were slipping. It's been a real grind for our clients and our realtors over the last 5 years leading up to COVID. And I think that was something that set us apart from a lot of parts of Canada, is that we weren't in a hot market coming into COVID. We were in a really struggling market. Thankfully, as we've moved through COVID and onto the other side of that, our market definitely has escalated up. We've seen a lot of growth. The realtors are really busy. We've seen price escalation. So we're starting now this year and last year as well to get to realize a little bit of the positive markets some of the other areas of Canada have seen.
As you know, I'm located in Vancouver here. Are you seeing people from the metro cities, big cities, Vancouver, Toronto? Are they coming into your area, or what's that looking like?
Yeah, definitely. There absolutely is an influx of population coming and looking to purchase properties in Edmonton and Alberta from the East and the West Coast. We're seeing that a lot. Everything to people that are coming from those markets seems like a pretty good sale price here. When people are selling houses for over $1 million and being able to buy a similar and comparable property here for half of that, it's good. So definitely we see a lot of purchases happening within our own clientele here, but absolutely there's been a push for some people coming from outer province.
Well, because, really, now that we've experienced COVID, we all know we can work from home, right? So people have more flexibility to work virtually from other places, right? So it's interesting to see, all the shifting that's taking place, throughout Canada. So I know that 20 years have been a long time, and I want to talk a little bit about your growth in the journey of your brokerage. So you've been with C21 since 2004. Then in 2018, you merged with your partner, today's partner, which is James Maybe. And at that time, just before you merged, I think you had about 47 agents. You merged with James and of course, organically grew. And now you have 104 agents and 4 offices. So that's basically double in 5 years. So congratulations, a 25-year-old entrepreneur that, had an idea, and now you're seeing so much success. So we're really, really proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah. It's been interesting over the years. We've looked to grow lots of different ways, and some of the growth comes just organically bringing realtors in, newer, experienced, and we've had some mergers and acquisitions, and all those different pieces play into how we've seen that growth and what we continue to do moving forward for sure.
Right. So how are you, you talk a little bit about, mergers and acquisitions, and that's, been some of the key ingredients to your growth. What are you doing now to recruit agents to your business? Because I know that you're putting even more of a focus on recruiting agents. And we're going to talk about all the great things you're doing. So you are set up for success. And now it's just an opportunity to invite more people to join your brokerage.
Yeah, recruiting, as any broker owner knows, recruiting and growing your office is an ongoing thing. And so, James and I have worked really hard to position ourselves in the marketplace and make sure that we have a good reputation. We volunteer, we get involved a lot. And so we have a lot of opportunity to network and meet with other agents as we go through those different volunteer roles. But internally as a brokerage, one of the best things we did about 1.5 years ago is hire Celeste, who we really put her into a position to assist us with that recruiting component, and also add value and assist with, supporting the agents that we have. So that was really key, because we found that in all the roles that James and I have in terms of running and training and supporting the current agents, often looking outward and trying to provide that growth opportunity was challenging for us to always focus on the way that we needed to. So bringing Celeste on board has been great. She's been able to take some conceptual ideas that we had and execute those and add some extra value into that for us as well.
And definitely.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I met Celeste at the Chairman Circle meeting, and she's just a bright light. You can just tell she wants to make a difference, right? She's full of ideas. She's full of determination. She's perfect.
Yeah. And it's things that, like the social media pieces, or posting the jobs, or, setting up the career nights, and bringing those bodies in and trying to get our messaging and our communication out to as many people as possible, that she's really been able to go and be super influential on that component.
You talked about a little about how you and James positioned your brokerage in the marketplace. So how do you differentiate your brokerage from the other brokerages in your market?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of different things that we think we're doing, and we know we're doing. As I mentioned before, when I first opened the brokerage, one of the key components for me and for what I wanted to do, and I know this was the same for James, was that training and broker support piece. So we just feel really strongly that, their agents are professionals that need continuing support and education as things shift and move. And so that is something that we hear from other agents is different. When agents join us from other brokerages, they say, like, I've never had training, hands-on training or customized training to this level. So I think the training piece, the agents know that they can get a hold of James and I at any point. So we try really hard to make sure that we're available to them a lot. And we encourage that collaboration, idea sharing, those kinds of things. There's opportunity for the agents to collaborate with each other, but also for them to phone James or I and say, hey, this is the circumstance. This is what I'm thinking. What do you think? Because, for us, the focus is let's get it right before we go, rather than trying to fix something after the fact. And I think that because we have that approach and that collaborative approach to everything that we do with the agents as well, that creates that whole team mentality within the brokerage. To be a brokerage of, the size we are and still have people feel like they're a part of something that's, unique and still has that closeness is what we're trying to accomplish. And I think we're doing not too bad at it.
Well, and you described it perfectly, and it's what it really is culture, right? It's that unique feeling of, feeling like you're part of something, feeling like you're, bringing value to the team, feeling like you're supported, and, people care about you, whether they're providing training or the support 24/7 that you're giving your agents, really kind of, really just sums up what I know your culture is like. So and it's interesting. I love talking about culture, but everyone always throws around, I got great culture. I got great culture. So what does culture mean to you?
Well, I think, positive culture is just sort of this collection of attitudes and beliefs, and it creates this energy that's in the space you're in. So, I mean, it's a collaborative thing. One person can't create it. Everybody has to agree and be a part of it. And it creates this energy and dynamic, this common thread that everybody relates to and connects to, in that group of people that you're talking about.
So, I know that, the real estate brokerage model is different from other organizations. You have companies and, you have employees that come into the office 8:30 to 5:00, whatever it might be. And, and you can do things to, create that culture. But in a real estate brokerage, really everyone's entrepreneurs, right? They're all independent contractors that are coming together, and you don't know when people are coming in the office. So, why is it important specifically for a real estate brokerage to have a good culture?
I think real estate is such an interesting business to be in, because it is actually a very secluded, when we're out there working with our clients, we're in, like you said, they're all their own, their own business owners, and they're in this little bubble running their own business. And so to be able to come back to a group of people and debrief or vent or share an idea and have that, as humans, we all want to be part of something that feels positive and good and brings us maybe out of a negative mindset into a positive one, or share some of that. So I think that, really people gravitate towards that environment where they just feels comfortable, feels like home, they can let their guard down, kind of unpackage some things and then carry on. And, like I said, it's human nature. We want to be a part of something. And I think in this business, sometimes we don't make enough time for that, because we get sort of head down and get into the clientele side of the business.
Well, it's interesting because a realtor once said to me not too long ago, she said, being a realtor is a really lonely profession. And I thought, because I don't have my real estate license, I don't sell real estate. And I thought about it. I'm like, yeah, I guess, because as you say, you're kind of, you're your own business, owner, you're running your business. And that's why it's always great, as you say, to have kind of a home base that you can go back to, right? And that you can network with other like-minded individuals, and you can share some, maybe some, a coffee, and just have that opportunity, as you say, to kind of let your hair down and just be yourself. I know that you foster an amazing culture over there at C21 Masters. How would you define your culture? So if someone was to ask you what your culture is like, how would you describe it?
I think that like whenever I think about the office and the people that are here and the culture that is a part of it, I'm always so proud and honored to be a part of it. And I don't think it's something that, obviously we try to set some examples in terms of what we want the office to be like, but at the end of the day, it's the people that are here that make it that. And so we just are sort of guiding it along the path. But, we have agents that are happy and positive. They definitely have a collaborative approach to their business style, and they're eager to learn and to share and support each other. There is a ton of respect between our realtors and for James and I. With our realtors, there's just a massive amount of respect going both ways. And so, whenever I think about that, I just think, that is one of the key components. We also really truly like each other, and we actually like to have fun together. So we have this work hard side, but we kind of have this play hard side where I actually really enjoy just having a glass of wine or, doing some of the fun things that we do outside of it. And so it's all of those things kind of packaged up together.
And how important do you think culture is in retaining agents and attracting new agents to your brokerage? Because, a lot of times we always want to talk technology. This is the technology. This is what's going to keep agents, having good technology. This is what's going to attract agents. But, culture is so important, right? And so how important do you think culture is when, keeping your agents happy that you have and then attracting new people to your business?
I feel like it's massive. I think it's one of the most important things that we do. I think in this business, and probably lots of businesses, everybody comes in with the approach of, let's get down to business and get the job done and carry on. But having that culture, having that, that collaborative kind of approach to things, they want to be a part of something, and it is a lonely business. And I think that, culture is what keeps people together. It's what pulls on the heartstrings. It allows them to enjoy each other, and it feeds a positive mindset and state through into their business. If they're out there working hard and a tough situation comes along, they know that they've got the support back here from James and I and the brokerage, the staff, from the realtors, all of that in assisting them along the way. So, it is a lonely business, and it's super competitive out there. And I don't think there's any place for that kind of negative competition inside the brokerage walls. This should be a safe place for them to come back to. And I think that the agents that are with us and the agents that have stayed with us for a long time, that's a big part of why they're here. It's not just numbers, it's not just the walls, the things that anybody can put up and make the same. It is about the people, right, within the company.
So, we talked about your journey into real estate. So you're 25, 26-year-old, you decide to open a brokerage. What would you tell to a 25 or 26-year-old who is just about to open a brokerage? What would you say to help them, create a good culture for their brokerage?
Culture is such an interesting thing. I think it can't be fake. Like, it has to come from the heart, and it has to really be an extension of who you are as a person. We all are on high alert for a sales pitch and being sold to, and we know when somebody is selling us a bill of goods. And so, we definitely don't say anything and do anything that isn't who we are through and through. That's how we live our lives inside the walls of the company, at home with our families, with our friends. Like, you can't decide it's going to be something and then make it happen. It just ends up sort of being organic to some extent. And then you have to realize what it is and capture that and try to find those strong pieces within it. I think it is, being true to yourself and the people that are around, right? It's, as a new person coming in to the business, as a young individual, I definitely just try to lead by example and try to be, care about people and be heartfelt and give everybody the time of day. And, it just kind of grew from that organically.
That's exactly how I feel. So let's inspire our listeners today.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about some of the things that you're doing to create a good culture, because I know there's some real fun things. So why don't you tell us some of the things you're doing?
Yeah, it's funny. I was just trying to put a list together and things keep popping up in my mind. One of the things that James and I tried to do is we sort of identified almost sort of 8 different categories of people's lives. And it's all the way from, their education and personal growth, financial, career, family, all of those things. And then we tried to start piecing pieces in where we can impact and support those different facets of people's lives, not just business. So, one of my favorite things that we do, which the realtors know this, is that we actually run a fitness boot camp on Fridays. So we have 10 to 12 of our agents that show up on Fridays, or a rolling group of us when we're available. And we go to see a trainer and we actually work out together Friday mornings. And it's a ton of fun. And it is not business at all. Like, that is sweat and laying on the ground and just having your ass kicked, to be honest. And another fun thing that we've done is like wine Fridays. So on Friday afternoons, probably at most of the offices, you'll find James or I sitting there, either with a bottle of wine or a glass of wine around, or even a group of people sitting and having a glass of wine and just chatting. I've done some athletic pieces as well, like fundraisers, fun runs, where a small group of us will go and raise money and go out and do a community run for charity. We've run book clubs before, and we've done business books as well as others, but usually the business books create some fun dialogue. Obviously, we think it's important to do the Christmas party. We do a summer barbecue that family can come to have an extension around that, and the events and recognition that we do with the realtors around the awards. And even one of the really cool things that we did in the middle of COVID is I called it Mind Your Health. And I had a trainer do a workout in a park. We had the realtors come bring their clients with them. So we had about 35, 40 people showed up in the park with their yoga mats. We did a full-on workout. And then I brought in a local gal that does mental health engagements, and she did a 30-minute session on mental health. So we're looking always for these opportunities to impact the agents in their personal world, health, fitness, maybe bring clients along to things. And so, we do try to offer quite an array of things. And, that's strategic because we know, of course, not everybody is going to want to come to everything.
Right. Well, yeah. Fridays sound fun there in Edmonton because you work out in the morning and then you drink wine.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't have to feel guilty.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good strategy, really good strategy. Yeah. I know that your team, your staff, and the people that work with you and James on a regular basis, I know that they play a very important role in enhancing and creating that culture. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's the thing again, is that it has to be the big picture, right? Everybody's walking along in the same direction with the same set of beliefs. And so we're so proud of the staff that work within our brokerage. They work so hard for the agents. They absolutely exude all of the skills and pieces that we want to toe that line and show that they care about the agents. And we have a lot of our staff that, we encourage them to, but they are able to show up at some of the socializing events because, in a regular day for the staff, they're processing paperwork, they're doing a lot of administrative things, and there's not as much time for that softer side. And so when they attend the social events, it's great because that's when they actually get to engage in a casual, way with the staff or with the agents. And, I think, again, if you have to drag somebody along and tell them they're going to go to something and have fun, that's not how it works. So we're thrilled because when the staff come to things, they're really engaged. They love being a part of that. And that connection with the agents as well, then, supports the staff when they're reaching out to the agent saying, hey, you're missing something, or we need this, or I asked you a couple times. There's a different relationship that happens there as well.
You're right. I think that when someone on a different level and, some of these social events do provide that opportunity is when, you get to know the person, you build that trust. And so when they call you for something, they have good intentions, right? Or if they're reminding you about something, they have good intentions versus, just reminding you to do something. So, I like that you're so aware that, everybody has to, your whole team has to participate and encourage and foster and nurture that culture in your office. So let's talk a little bit about your beautiful South Edmonton office. How would you describe the office to me?
Yeah, well, we decided to do a totally different build out there. And so we did quite a fresh and modern approach. It's very open with sort of collaborative workspaces. We have Basically a couple of office spaces at the back, but otherwise the entire space is open. Big long work tables, a couple small couch and sofa areas for more casual meetings, and client room or meeting rooms at the back, but on a very small scale. It is it's edgy and fresh. It's clean, and it definitely, it's sort of like this blend of as James likes to say, Starbucks meets Apple, and I think we're thrilled with how it turned out.
I love that, Starbucks versus Apple.
Yeah.
How many square feet is it?
It's just 1,200 square feet.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. So that's your fourth office, South Edmonton area.
Mhm.
When you were building it out or designing it or talking about it with James, did you take your culture into consideration when you were designing your office there?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we struggled a little bit by building an office without having rentable office space in it. But what we really decided, what we needed and wanted more of, was a collaborative space that we could use for different kinds of things. So a big space that can be used for a larger training session, or even rented out for training. Obviously hosting events there. We kind of brought in more of the collaborative components into that piece, thinking that it would be more about idea sharing and sort of people sitting around and having coffee, having chats, sharing things. But it also allows the agents to use that space for other things outside of business hours. So holding a buyer seminar there, or even doing something that's not real estate related. Renting it out with a little moms group where the ladies all get together for, gift exchange or something. So there's some opportunities there where, our realtors could utilize it and can utilize it for things outside of just real estate related components.
That's a good idea, because of course I haven't seen your office in person, but I've seen the video, and we can't unfortunately show the video because it's a podcast, so people can't listen to a video, but it's definitely on my Facebook page. So definitely check it out if you want to. But, I never thought about utilizing the space like afterwards for, as you say, buyer seminars, or I'm sure you can have career nights, or you can have, if a realtor wants to do some sort of social gathering or client appreciation day night, that's the opportunity to do that. I would just, I always looked at it and just thinking, okay, that, just I thought of it 9 to 5 versus thinking about the possibilities after 5 o'clock. So that's great. Yeah. As you say, the office looks beautiful, it looks fresh, it looks contemporary. It has all the new branding, as you say. That's, one of the most exciting things that have happened to Century 21 was this complete makeover. How does the office look and feel, and the design of it? How does that affect your culture, or does it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it does. Like that's an interesting question, but when people walk in there, it definitely looks different enough and modern and unique enough that people always comment on it. And I think that the agents are proud to have that space that they can use and bring people to. I think they also appreciate having the other spaces that offer different things as well, depending on what their needs are. But it absolutely is one more layer and one more option for them to utilize. So, I think that as COVID opens up and we're able to have people out again, that's the other piece. As we opened it when gatherings were, for the most part, kept small, so it's limited things a bit, but now we're on the other side of that. And I think that there's some great opportunities there, but it's just nice to have that at their disposal to use as they like. And absolutely, it just is an extension of what we're trying to offer to the agents.
I know that it's an interesting question. The reason I ask, because I'm a big, marketing is my background, but I'm a big believer that you create a contemporary environment that, there's a sense of pride that comes with that. And when you feel proud, you feel more excited and motivated, and you stand a little taller. And so it's really nice that, that you feel the same about that. How do you communicate or demonstrate your culture when you're recruiting new agents? Because as you said, you have Celeste there, you're putting a little bit more emphasis on some organic growth initiatives. Culture is a really hard thing to explain to someone. So how do you communicate that when you're recruiting new agents?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's kind of that practice what you preach piece. So, when James and I and Celeste even are delivering, the pieces that we see as value to somebody that we're looking to recruit, it also, I think, just comes through in how we express ourselves and how excited we get. And they hear us talking about how proud we are of the office and the agents and how great our realtors are and how well trained and, you know, how professional they are and that collaborative thing. So as we get talking about all the things that we think our office has to offer, it's one thing to have it written down on paper and point to things and say, oh, when we do this and we do that. Where the buy-in is and people really connect with is when they hear the passion in our voices and how excited we are to share the things that we're doing. And I mean, James and I can never say enough about the realtors that we have that work for us. They're fantastic. We think they're the best in the industry, you know, and we truly, truly believe that, and we see it every day. So somebody sitting across from us very quickly starts to go and recognize that this is something that we feel truly passionate about.
Yeah, you're right. You know, when someone talks with passion, they talk with excitement, like it's contagious, right? You can feel that from the person. And that's, as you say, it's a great way to showcase your culture. On the flip side, when you're in a recruiting presentation, you're meeting with that person, you know, you're showing all your passion, your excitement, but how do you ensure that that person will fit into your culture? Do you have like a standard list of questions that you ask them, or how can you know if that person's going to be right for the type of culture that you provide?
Well, it's interesting because I mean, I think we probably should have some really fantastic scientific kind of answer for that, but we don't. I think it's actually, you know, people either it resonates with them or it doesn't. People either say that's something that I want to be a part of because I connect with that, and you hit all these hot buttons and that's how I feel, and I'm excited about that too. Or they're just like, no, I don't want to know anybody. I just want to get down to business. I don't care where I work, who I work with. I got friends outside of, you know, so either they're buying in to, you know, the excitement and the energy that we have, or they're not. And we feel like in those meetings with people, we very quickly can assess if somebody is like, you know, not interested in any of that, then obviously they're probably not the right person for us. And so it kind of they end up sort of self-vetting themselves out, or we just say, sorry, it's not a fit. But it is so much coming, so much of it comes through in the conversation in that meeting and that appointment as we get them talking, for sure.
Well, you know, it's interesting because, you know, over my career, I've, you know, hired a number of people. And one of the things that I'm doing all the time is laughing, or I'm just being silly, right? So I'm always hoping to hire someone who, you know, can be silly with me, can laugh, you know, at anything. So usually when I'm doing in an interview, I just say something really random and see if they laugh. Like, how do they react? Are they like, you know, going, because that's, you know, that's how I can tell if they're going to fit in, you know, with my department, with myself. But I really like that but you can always see it, right? If you start talking to that person, you get right into it. You can always tell the type of person they are and whether they're going to be good for your team.
Well, and I think there's that energy piece that comes through. And also, you know, James and I we truly, truly enjoy working with each other. We have a lot of fun together. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We are one of everybody else. And so in those meetings, when we do them together, especially, I think people really get, they enjoy seeing how we interact together. And I mean, we just don't take ourselves too seriously. You know, life is meant to be positive and fun. And so I think that, you know, we do find that when there's two of us there, even more of our personalities come out. That person that's sitting there feels more comfortable. And so there's that opportunity to feel like you're really getting to know each other. And yeah, I mean, the energy is what people are connected to, right?
So, you know, we talked about your journey, and, you know, you've gone through this process since 2004. You've merged businesses with James. You've acquired, you know, some other brokerages. How do you seamlessly integrate a new organization into existing one without losing or changing the culture? So if, you know, if brokerages are looking to, you know, acquire or merge with another organization, how do you do that and not lose the great culture that you've created?
Yeah, so there's a lot of pieces to that question. So first of all, I wish there was such a thing as seamless. I don't think that is, you know, entirely possible. I think that anytime you're taking one group who feels like they have their own piece they want to hold on to a little bit, there's a lot of work that goes into connecting with them, and each individual person maybe has their own concerns or things that they need addressing. So you know, really, I think more so it's about moving those people over with care and compassion, and making sure that they feel heard, and that they feel like they're not just being dumped into a group of somebody else and sort of losing their identity on that. we found obviously great success in just having really heartfelt one-on-one conversations with each of those people and making sure there's that time, finding out what's important to them, letting them see who we are, making sure they know they can reach out to us if they have any questions at all. And when things happen that aren't perfect, you know, the focus is not that it's mistake free and necessarily exactly seamless, but if something pops up that we're dealing with it immediately, efficiently, we're working through that to get a wow at the end of it rather than you know, got it done. And you know, I think it is also about encouraging them to join in things and meet people. Obviously, there can be that little bit of division there. And I think also whenever you bring in a larger group of people, your own culture for sure needs some additional nurturing and care, because the you know, the agents that are on the team already are kind of watching to see what's going to happen, and they are also concerned that it's going to rock a boat that they're quite happy on. So there's managing on both sides. I think, you know, I like I said, I don't think that seamless is really it's not possible, but it is about making sure that everybody knows that you've got their best interests at heart, that you really care about them all, and you're giving everybody a lot of time of day to feel comfortable in that transition. And it takes time, you know, letting people slowly merge in and visit the agents and get to know them over a period of time. It doesn't, you know, instantly happen. Some people for sure, but most people, it takes a bit of time for them to see consistent behaviors, practices, energy from the other realtors. And then, you know, we just did an awards event recently, and you know, I had a couple people come up to us from some of our other, you know, from some of the other offices, and just say, it's been so great to be a part of this team. And every time I attend something, I see more and more, you know, how much the agents care, how much you guys care, and so it goes over time. It isn't instant.
Well, you know, and I like that you said, not only do you have to, you know, foster and nurture a culture with the new people coming into your organization, but not forgetting the people that are there, because they need that comfort, right? They need that nurturing. And I think that's super important, because I think a lot of us can get so concerned about, you know, new people, onboarding them, you know, focusing on them, making sure they feel welcome. But it's also making sure that, you know, the other people don't feel like, you know, they're forgotten, right? And care about them. So I think that's an amazing tip, you know, if someone's looking to, you know, acquire another brokerage or merge with another brokerage. With over 100 agents, I'm sure you have a variety of different age groups. How can you ensure your culture is relevant to a variety of demographics?
Yeah, I mean, I think the core pieces of culture and who we are the same, no matter if you're a new agent, an experienced agent, a young person, an older person. I mean, those core values are the same, they're unchanged. I think James and I work hard to treat everybody the same, no matter where they are. You know, everybody deserves the same amount of time and respect. But we also work to create different opportunities, because we know not every opportunity will work for everyone. And that's why we have constantly a variety of things that we're doing, and opportunities for people to attend events and different things. You know, somebody that comes to my Friday boot camp is maybe not going to be the same person that comes to a mastermind meeting, or, you know, to our wine Friday. And so that's how I think we work with the different demographics pieces. We just offer a lot of variety, and know that we will hopefully be able to hit everybody at something if they want that, and know those opportunities are there. And, you know, I love it. There's crossover sometimes when you don't even expect it, you know, and that's great too, where somebody shows up to something. And the other thing that I think has worked really well too is when somebody's hesitant about something, like the workout we did in the park that we called Mind Your Health. You know, we had a lot of our realtors posting how great it was. And I had other people that probably wouldn't normally have considered that say, hey, if you do that again, I'm actually going to come. So, you know, sometimes that experience through each other will help, you know, a different group of individuals feel more comfortable to come. But the variety is the spice there of life.
Yeah, the variety is key, right? You don't want to work out, that's okay. We got some other things that you could do.
Yeah, not everybody wants to walk around, you know, like they're with sore leg muscles for the entire weekend.
But they can't sit down.
Yeah, so I get it. That's not for everyone.
So Geneva, what are some of the things that you personally are doing to foster a positive and collaborative culture?
Yeah, I mean, like, again, it is just showing up, I think, and being real. I try to have a lot of patience. I have a lot of respect for people and treat everybody as equals. I mean, I think time is a massive piece. I wish we all had more time to give. We all wish we had more time, but I think one of the key components is when the agents call that God bless them. They always say, I know you're busy. Do you have time for this? But we work really hard to say, of course I have time. What do you need? How can I help? And just, practice what I preach, that's all I can do. And, I feel like if I'm true and what they see is what they get, or what I say I'm going to do, I do, then that's me towing the line. And hopefully that it adds to the culture that we have in the company.
Sometimes because life is just so busy and there's just so many things to do. One of the things that I do personally to foster a culture is I try to slow down, right? It's like, as they say, take time to smell the roses, right? And, sometimes instead of banging off an email, like, let's be nice at the beginning of the email. But sometimes, if you're really fast at everything and trying to do everything fast, sometimes you just have to slow down, right? And take that moment, as you said. So almost 20 years, have there been any lessons learned over the years?
Oh, just a few. Yeah. Just a few. I think there's a couple, key ones that sort of, I think, stand out for me. There's so many. You've got to get up every day and love what you do. If you don't love it, it's not going to work. And so sometimes, obviously, there's times when it might feel a little more trying. And what's great is take that checkout, like you said, have that little break. But I think some of the big things are never to make an assumption about anything or anyone. I definitely learned in this business, especially as we're helping clients, we're working with other realtors across the other side of the table. Sometimes what it looks like is not what it is. And so I try to never make an assumption about what's happening and what that other person is dealing with. And I have had that, come back a lot where somebody's like, apologizes when, so they've stepped back up. And I think the more you learn that in life, generally, it makes things a little bit easier. And I work really hard to not let somebody else's bad day be my bad day. And I say that to our staff and I say that to their agents, because other people can escalate a situation and make us feel like we need to be angry or we need to be frustrated as well. And so it really is about that pause and gap and just, let that, I say this to the staff for sure, but to the agents, like, let it be their bad day. If they want to go around in that headspace and dealing with things that way, let them. So working really hard to not, bring that baggage on and layer it on top of me and then carry that around. And, especially because I was so young when I opened the brokerage, I definitely had a lot of that where I had to learn if somebody was, ripping a strip off you on the phone and you're having to come back at that, being able to end that call with integrity and then walk away and not let that get you down moving forward. I think that those are probably the biggest things that I've learned over my 20 years.
And you know what? I love that tip. Like, don't let someone else's bad day affect your day, right? That's a great tip. So, what are some tips that you could give brokerage owners out there if they want to grow their brokerage? So, they've been, they have a nice brokerage, but, they want to take their brokerage to the next level. What are some tips that you might give them?
Yeah, I think that's, honestly, where that comes down to figuring out what the added value pieces are that you offer into the brokerage and why your people are there to begin with, and then going out and finding other people that want to be a part of that. We definitely are looking to add always people that fit our company, not just anybody. And so, identifying those gaps in the market, identifying, some of the things that people don't even know that they need, but they do need them, and offering those components out. We really have found good value in, like I said, that array, those 8 different areas where we try to add some value in and articulate that out. And whether it's kind of some coaching components that come into like my mastermind call or my new realtor roundtables, where we end up talking about, family and personal situations. So I find that it's this business focus sometimes that makes everything so kind of, kind of hard and not as responsive. And so if we can sort of let some of those barriers down and look at that bigger picture, I think when we have an opportunity as leaders to help people grow themselves and we grow as well, that's where people really connect and resonate. And I think that's missing a lot of the time just because it's business, and then see you later. So for us, what's worked is looking at that bigger picture and outside of the walls of real estate.
Well, and I know you mentioned it earlier in the podcast, but kind of breaking it down to those 8 areas, right? Really kind of identifying what's important to people and how you can provide value.
Yeah.
So now 20 years later, actually 18 years, because you started brokerage a couple years after getting to real estate, but knowing what you know now and of course, learning from those lessons that you've made, what are some words of wisdom that you wish someone would have told you when you started to open your own brokerage?
Well, I wish somebody had taught me how to delegate. I feel like that's it's hard, especially in this business, because we are all owners of our businesses, and so we have great invested interest in them. But learning how to figure out where your time is best spent and encouraging other people to take something and run with it. For me, that's been a big challenge always. And I would have loved if somebody had said right off the get-go, delegate, figure those things out. On the flip side, though, those things that I still have my fingers in are, things that also lead back into culture sometimes. So that is a slippery slope. And if we delegate out too much stuff, then we lose some of that. It's interesting. I definitely, I remember when I said I was going to open a brokerage, the broker that I worked for at the time looked at me and said, "Don't do it, don't do it." And, I think it's interesting because I'm so glad I did it. Definitely has come with a lot of challenges over the years, from the market to, the business and models changing and all of those things. But I could have never thought about the relationships that I've been able to make and foster and how I've grown as an individual. And I think, so learning how to delegate and probably being open to learn and, really, really understand and grow with the company and as you move along.
Well, as you said, there's a fine line to delegation, right? Because you want to delegate to make sure you're productive and you're utilizing your skills and your strengths to do what's really important to move the business forward. But sometimes if you delegate, I do the same thing, is that, just learn how, figure out how to build a website, then you actually really don't know ever. And you can never really talk to it in detail and with passion and excitement. So I definitely agree there. This is my final question for you as we wrap up, Geneva, and thank you so much again for being with us today. But what is your biggest challenge that you've ever faced, not necessarily in your career, but just in your life, that ended up being a blessing in disguise?
I mean, that's such a tough question. And you even told me you were going to ask that. And
I always warn people.
God, I don't know. Is it being a wife? Is it being a parent? And those are obviously the pretty typical answers. Honestly, when I think about it, it is running the brokerage. I think that is the biggest challenge that I've ever faced. I've been doing it for 18 years. Just when you think that you've got it all figured out, a variable changes, different business models come in, our industry is constantly changing. There are so many moving parts. There are so many highs and lows. There's things that are frustrating. There's these exceptional situations where we're sitting with clients or the realtors, and they've helped navigate an extraordinary circumstance in a positive. And we're also sitting on the side of the table often where we're helping somebody navigate a horrific situation. And so I think that is probably, when I look back at my time, I think running a brokerage is probably one of the biggest, most challenging things that I've ever done. I also think I've learned the most life lessons. I've developed personally so significantly, and I love the dynamic personalities that I've been in contact with. So I know that's not a super exciting answer, but when I'm like 43 and for 20 years I've been in this business, like, it is the biggest challenge that I've ever had to work through and navigate on an ongoing basis.
Well, even though you had some ups and downs over your 18 years owning a brokerage, you've done an amazing job. You and James are just always continuing to rock it in the Edmonton market, and we appreciate your support and your engagement in the brand. If people have some more questions or they want to have a chat with you, maybe a virtual chat, how can people get a hold of you, Geneva?
Well, I'm always happy to hear from everybody. I don't know, my email is complicated. It's my name sitting up there, Geneva Tetreault, obviously at century21.ca. And I'm happy to, if somebody wants to reach out on social media, or you're very welcome to phone me, 780-984-0129. Happy to connect with anybody at any point. We learn always so much from each other. So always open to a call.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for joining us and talking about, some of the things that you're doing to create a great culture and all the other amazing things you're doing. So we really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity here, and these podcasts have been fantastic. So we're enjoying listening and learning along as you go. That's great.
Excellent. So you're either listening to this podcast live or you're listening to the recording on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google Podcasts. Or of course, you went to the century21franchise.ca website. Century 21, for those of you that don't know, Century 21 is one of the world's largest residential real estate company in the world with presence in 86 countries. And here in Canada, we are 11,000 plus strong. And we're looking to align ourselves with individuals who share the same vision for what the future of brokerages look like. So if you're interested in growth opportunities, please feel free to reach out to me or my colleague, Gary Zalepa. You can reach us both on the century21franchise.ca website, or of course, you can connect with me through LinkedIn or Facebook, and I'd love to have a chat. So anyways, thank you so much for being with us today.